Welcome everybody to creating effective PowerPoint presentations. My name is Christine Cairns. I am an academic center specialist. I've been in the Writing Center since 2008. I started at Kaplan University in 2007, and now we're Purdue Global, and I'm still here. I celebrated 10 years here last year. So welcome everybody. In this webinar, I'm going to cover the basics of making a PowerPoint, beginning with what it is and why and how you use it. I'll also cover the elements of composition that apply to creating an effective presentation, including the expected content and organization. So you should be able to apply that whether you have to do a presentation of 6 slides or 20. I will also cover some tools and tips for designing slides and show you how to add images and record narration. So some advanced tips mixed in with the basics. So hopefully everybody will leave here with something new, a new insight, a new way of doing it. Before I conclude, I'll also leave you with some additional resources, and I'll try to answer some questions as well. I'm hoping to wrap it up within 40 or 45 minutes. Depends on the questions that we get and how much fun we're having, okay? But I do have quite a bit of content to go through. So to begin, and again, I'm going to start with the basics because some people are just new to PowerPoint. They were assigned a PowerPoint and they're like, what is a PowerPoint? What am I being asked to do? What is this? So Microsoft PowerPoint is part of Microsoft Office. And if you have Microsoft Word installed on your computer, you likely have one of the Microsoft Office suites, and therefore you also have PowerPoint. It's commonly used in business and sales meetings or job training meetings. It's also used for conference presentations. I'll be giving a PowerPoint this month in May at the Purdue Global General Education Conference. It's used in workshops and also in showrooms, office displays, during lectures, seminars, webinars. You're viewing a PowerPoint presentation right now, and I've been creating Writing Center workshops and webinars using PowerPoint for over 10 years, and I used it when I was teaching before that, and I've probably made hundreds. I not only use them for webinars, but also in conference presentations, but also for video development. Almost all of our Academic Support Center videos, our video tutorials, began as PowerPoints. It's a real versatile program. You can import it into other programs. Here I've uploaded it into this room. Okay, so almost all of your presentation needs would be satisfied with a PowerPoint. So I can say that it's pretty, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is user-friendly for beginners as well as advanced users. The more you use it, the more features you'll discover. And I'm really happy to be able to share some of my experience with you with PowerPoint, and hopefully I can address your questions, whether they're basic or advanced today. So PowerPoint is essentially a program for creating slideshows. The slides allow you to format and display text, images, on a screen. There are options for different sizes, types, and colors of text. There are tools and smart art for creating data, graphs, charts, diagrams, tables. The program is designed for creating engaging and robust visual presentations. They're not always that engaging. They can be really boring. There's lots of videos like on YouTube that say, this is how not to do it. I'm going to try to cover what to do today. But you can even animate your text with sound, and I'm not sure if that sound came through sometimes when it imports to places like Adobe, because that's a Microsoft product and we're viewing it in an Adobe product. They're not always good friends. But you can add animation and sound. And for your academic presentations, you probably won't use a lot of sound effects. They're kind of fun to play with, but not that effective for a serious presentation. But more and more students are using narration, adding voice recording to their slideshow that plays for viewers automatically and includes the recorded voice. And we're going to look at that tool in a bit. So to improve your volume, there's a speaker icon up top next to the microphone icon, and you can adjust your speaker volume. My mic's up the right side of the middle toward the high end. Varied pacing is when, if you autoplay, if you want to autoplay your slideshow, like if you don't do anything, like each slide will play for like 3 seconds. But when you get into recording your slideshow, you can change the pacing so it's longer. In most cases, rather, the viewer is just flipping through themselves, but you can also set it up so it plays automatically. So backing up a little bit, a presentation is a composition. Like essays, presentations are created for a purpose, for an audience, and within a context. So before you create one, you must know why you are making it, for whom and for what context. Where will it be used or viewed? If you're creating a presentation in a math class, for example, that content will be in part, that context will be like a field or discipline of mathematics. So the context is professional. Part of the context also is where is it going to be viewed? Is it going to be on a big backdrop? Like, are you going to be presenting it in person in a room? Is it going to just be on somebody's laptop? So as for purpose, some presentations are created to persuade. A corporation might use a PowerPoint to sell a new product to a particular demographic, and they could post that on their website or maybe put it in a showroom on autoplay. Other presentations are meant to inform. A dentist might use a PowerPoint to teach children how to brush their teeth. Students use presentations also to inform or persuade, mostly to demonstrate their learning. So the purpose, audience, and context of your presentation is going to guide your decisions for content and design. So I couldn't just skip over that and jump right into how to make one, because you can't really make one without knowing why you're making it and who's going to see it, right? And where are they going to see it? So all of that's going to matter. So I think somebody said earlier they have a PowerPoint to make right away, and it's 6 to 8 slides. So try to imagine this type of content filling up those slides. You have a title slide and an introduction slide. And next, depending upon your purpose, your audience, and your context, you're going to have the discussion slides. Or going back to the intro too, the intro is not like an introductory paragraph in a PowerPoint. Like, this is my intro slide mainly. Or in the one before, I've had a couple. They can be a list or an agenda in a PowerPoint. But for the discussion slides in the middle, you want to think of them like paragraphs in a way. They create a logical chain from beginning to end. Each slide should focus on one main point and some supporting details or a supporting illustration or a chart or a graph, but one main point per slide, just like you have one main point per paragraph. And then the supporting details exemplify or illustrate that point. And presentations also have a thesis. That's the central idea. That's what unifies the slide content. So when you're creating your presentation, you want to think beginning, middle, end, just like you would if you were writing any other type of composition. Okay. And someone also asked about notes. Oh, I guess you also need a reference slide if you have research in it as well. I'll speak a little bit more about the reference slide coming up. But slide notes are also important. These are the speaker notes. And here's a picture of like the back end. This is the PowerPoint in draft mode, draft view of this PowerPoint, and it's very meta. I'm giving a PowerPoint on how to make a PowerPoint. It's quite fun. So here's a picture of the PowerPoint that I was working on. Here is the little button here. See where that green arrow is and the yellow circle is? It says notes. And you can toggle the notes open and close. So when you first open your presentation, you might not see them. You'll be like, where are the speaker notes? I don't get it. Because you're just seeing the slide and then maybe the navigation pane here on the left. But you can click that button and all of a sudden you have a note pane and you can drag it bigger or smaller. Okay, so you can see where you're writing. Okay, so this is the speaker notes that you may have heard about. And I want you to notice how little text is on the slide versus how much is in the notes. The notes area contains the complete discussion of what's on the slide. So when you're presenting or recording a presentation, you can elect to see these notes and use them as a script or a guide as you speak. And then your audience doesn't see them though. They just see what's on the slide. But the slide is just a backdrop. Okay, it's the visual representation of what you're saying. You don't want your reader to have to read closely. What if your reader's sitting in the back row of a large room and you're up front with a PowerPoint? You don't want them to have to read a paragraph. The slide, what you choose to put on the slide should just be the key points. Okay. So that's the speaker notes. And the audience doesn't see those speaker notes unless, of course, you've emailed your presentation to someone. They can see it, open it in draft mode and see it. Depends on how you publish it. But if you're sharing it with your instructor, they'll be able to read the notes. And so you want to write the notes in complete sentences and paragraph structure, as you would, like if you're writing an essay, just to flesh it out. And your instructions for your assignment will maybe tell you, if they're asking you for speaker notes, it's because they're not going to totally understand what you're talking about if you just have the content on the slide. The speaker notes are going to help the reader, your instructor, see what you're trying to show there. So the slideshow itself is a visual backdrop for the oral presentation that it goes with. Does that make sense? So the speaker notes are something you see behind the scenes. It doesn't make sense? How do you play a slide and see those notes? You won't see them, but I see them because this room allows me to see my notes. And when you go into PowerPoint and you do a test of your slideshow presentation, you'll see it opens up. Well, I have two monitors, so it opens up in two windows. But you can elect to see your presentation so it shows the notes. But usually, you're giving a presentation, your viewers aren't seeing it. So let's say if you're in a conference, or let's say you're in an employee meeting, you're presenting, what you do is you have your laptop with your PowerPoint on it, and then you hook it up to a projector. And the projector only displays the slide. But you, who's sitting and talking, and you have your PowerPoint, or your laptop in front of you, and you see the back end and you see your notes. So there's like two different views. There's the presenter view, and then what you want to show the viewers. Does that make sense? So you do the speaker notes as you go along. when you're creating your presentation. I usually make my presentation first and then go back and fill in my notes to say what I have an idea of what I want to say in the slide, and that's how I make the slide. And the slide itself, well, that's going back to this, it depends on what the content is. Okay. So if it's the discussion in the middle with the transitions and the connections, that's going to have the most discussion on the slide notes. It's like a paper in a way. But like if you're a professional and you're giving a presentation to people that are never going to see your notes, you put in the notes what you need to keep you on track for your presentation. But if you're doing it for a course, you're going to want to flesh out those notes so that you can demonstrate your learning, because the slide itself isn't everything, right? But that's why too, many people are using the narration tool so that they can play your presentation and hear you speak. And the speaker notes help you know what to say when you're making that recording. So here's some basic design tips for going into creating a PowerPoint. These are real tips for effective slide design. And together these tips are all about respecting the audience and letting simplicity guide your choices, really. You want to remember that the slideshow is only part of your presentation. Your live or recorded comments will flesh out the slide's points. So you'll see plain, large, simple, bulleted lists. And somebody was in earlier before the presentation, and I'm not sure if you're here, and somebody asked, how do I get rid of the bullet points? Well, I can show you that. It's simply, there's this, one of the menus up here, like you can put the cursor right in front of the text, and then, boy, it's so small I can't really see, but on the home screen, there's an area where the bullets are, and you just click it, and then the bullet goes away. That's an answer to that question that was earlier. Maybe I'll get another view later that's a little closer for you to see. Yes, and there's different ways to view the PowerPoint, and we're getting to that. We're going to look more back-end stuff, and kind of just wanted to go over some design things first, and then I'll show you some of the tools for working with the presentation. Okay. But there's a view, there's a ribbon, like in Microsoft Word, there's a ribbon across the top where all those tools are. It's the same with PowerPoint. So this is actually a screen that you see when you very first open up a PowerPoint. When you open up when you're not opening up something you've already worked on, but you go to the program, you click it, and it opens up. And the first thing it's going to ask you is, okay, before I open it all the way, what do you want this to look like? Do you just want like a plain template? So Microsoft has preloaded some various templates that you might use, and this is an easy way to create a real consistent presentation, because every slide is going to have some form of, it's going to have this theme applied, along with certain layouts for your content. Okay, so but here again, simple is best. You want to keep your topic, audience, and purpose and context in mind. You don't want to present on a very serious topic, using some vibrant, fun colors with bubble designs, right? You want your theme to kind of match your topic. Okay. So you want to think, what would be the best theme to get my point and message across, right? So if like you're doing a nursing presentation, you're probably not going to want to pick the astrology theme. You want something that's a little bit more scientific or serious, even though that's really fun. I like celestial bodies, right? But you have to take that into consideration. It's not necessarily most professional. No, you can choose the plain white theme. In fact, every time you choose one of these themes, you get another pop-up that says, do you like it in that color, or do you want it in one of these other colors? So so when you're going through and picking out the theme, and there's a whole bunch, you can scroll down, you'll see that my scroller bar is way at the top. We're only looking at, the first 3 rows. If there's probably 12 rows. You can kind of look at the design, and this is only the cover slide too. The actual discussion slides aren't going to have that solid. It might just have, the discussion slides might be a little different than the cover slide, and then you can choose your colors as well. But the themes, the templates are a good way to create a consistent theme. So this is the theme that I picked for the example. Once you've pressed okay, I want this theme, I'm going to use that, and you can always change it. Just go up to there's a design tab on the top, and if you wanted to see what it looks like in another theme, like let's say you get a certain ways and you're like, oh, I don't like the way the graphics are in this theme, and then you can go to your design and you can switch out and try a different theme, because they do have different, they have like a different style to them. So I chose this theme for the example, and the first slide that's going to load is the title slide, and you just click it to type. You just click it, and then you can type your title. And then the subtitle box is a good place to put your name and the university name and any other information that your instructor may request, such as the course number or the date. So the Academic Support Center has a video on how to apply APA formatting in PowerPoint. So if you're writing a research presentation and you were going to be using research and citing it in your PowerPoint, maybe you want an APA influenced title slide as well. So if that link doesn't work, let's see, does it work? I have a link to that video at the end to give you as well, but it's great. It's how to apply APA formatting in PowerPoint. It goes through the title slide, the discussion slides, and the reference slide. Okay. I'll give you that link in the end, and also it's on my PDF that I'll give you. Okay. Earphones do work best. And then you can turn up the volume. There's a speaker button at the top. So after applying a theme and creating the title slide, you can create a new slide by right-clicking the thumbnail on the side, like where you hover your mouse over the slide, you click it, and then if you right-click the mouse, you'll get a drop-down menu, and one of the options will be to insert a new slide, and that'll open the default discussion slide. Or if you want to see your options because you don't want the default slide, which is basically like content and bullet points, you can also go up to insert a new slide. Up here on the Home tab, there's a new slide button, and if you click the drop down, the little point, the arrow that points down, it'll show you all the layout options you have with this theme. So there's going to be options for slides with both text and a picture, for example, or 2 content boxes for 2 lists of bullet points, or maybe you have a list on one side and a diagram on the other, or maybe you just want a diagram, or maybe you just want a picture filling up the whole frame. You can have recorded audio on a PowerPoint. I'll show you how to do that too. Do you like that? It's very clever. That's Stu Dent's PowerPoint. He has one terrific presentation. Thanks for noticing. So this is the basic or default title and content layout. And one benefit of using the layouts is that every slide is going to have the information in the same spot. So it's a real seamless, nice transition. You don't want your text to jump all over the slide as you go from one to the next. And I have another resource, I'll give you the link at the end, because what I did was I made the text the link, and I needed to make the whole box the link, I think, for it to work in this Adobe room. But I have another resource that'll show you a little bit more about how to add new slides if you want more basics, because I'm going to kind of skip to the next. And yes, I'd be happy to take a question about that. I thought somebody's hand was up. Okay. Bonnie, as long as there's a contrast, there used to be, like, when I first started giving PowerPoints, like, I don't know, over 10 years ago, we tried to avoid the extremes, you know, black on white or white on black. But I think the whole idea is that as long as it's clear, as long as I think more important is that the size of the font is like 24 point, or no smaller than that, really, because you want it to be able to be seen from a little bit of a distance. Because even if you're in a very small, like, office space, but you're showing a PowerPoint, maybe just even on your laptop, you have it turned around, you know, you want people to be able to see it. Also, you want to just use one color. So it's not so much that it's white or it's black, but you don't want to mix it up, really. But if I put black text on this particular background, I couldn't really see it. So I wanted to use the brightest on this dark background. Yes, after you choose a theme, you'll get a pop-up that lets you change the colors. Also, there's, if you go back to the Design tab, I don't know if I have one of those open, but at the end of our presentation, if you're still unsure, I can share my screen and show you that, how to change the colors. But you do get different color options, so I could have done a different color option with the same pattern, this design. We are recording this presentation for future use and display, and so you can access it again. And I'll also provide you a copy of my presentation with my notes. Did I get everybody's questions just then? I haven't actually put out my notes yet. I wanted to see if I could address some questions first. Only when you first begin, there's a pop-up. Otherwise, you use the toolbar along the top to access all of the design and style tools and the themes. So you'd want to go to the Design tab, which isn't showing in my picture here. I think I have the Home tab up. But in a later slide, I do show the Design tab. There's also a question mark up here where you can click if you have a question, and if you're looking for something, or it'll take you to the Microsoft website. If I'm using, I think 2013 Microsoft Office, 2013, I'm on a PC, so your PowerPoint may look different than mine if you have a different version, or the Mac version. So what I want to do is add a picture, and I'm going to show you how to insert an image now. Is that okay? Are you ready to see that? How to insert a picture? Okay, so, and I want you to, I'm going to go through quite some more steps than you probably realized, because we're going to talk about citing it as well, and how you can actually use a picture in a presentation. Because it's easy enough to insert a picture, but you really just can't leave it like that. So first of all, I'm using the two content layout for this slide. And I'm going to put a bulleted list on this side and a picture on this side. So what I can do, the easiest way to do it is just click. You'll see inside the content box, it'll give me all my options, like what do you want to put in here. If I just put my cursor up here and start typing, these options will go away because I've chosen to type. Or I can click the button where it says picture, or I can click the button where it says, I want to put a graph in here. So we're going to do a picture. You can also put your cursor up here and go, oh wait, I'm change my mind. I'm going to go up to the Insert tab. And on the Insert tab, you can also insert a picture. So let's say you don't even want to use these boxes. You can just select it and click your delete key and they'll go away. Okay, they're not engraved on the slide. You can even resize them if you want. So another way to insert a picture is just to go to the Insert tab and click Picture. And then that's going to open up your Finder window on your computer. So you want to make sure you already have a picture to put in there. I'm looking at the double content slide earlier. If you were just using the default, she asked, are those buttons new? If you're just using the default content here, it was one box. And I think it did give me the option for a picture, but it might have just been text. So back here again, when you're choosing the layout for your next slide, some boxes are going to have options for adding media, pictures. Okay. So it's going to open up, this is a window on my computer. I clicked picture and now it's opening up a folder where I have a picture, and I'm going to select it and then click insert, and it's going to go right in that box. So I just inserted a picture here. I'm going to answer your question in a sec, Erica. So with the picture inserted, and then I filled in the other content here, and just pretend like this is a real presentation. I just kind of did sample content points. Okay, I got a key point and my key point and my key point over here. And I have a title, a heading for the slide, which is real important as well. So there was a box for that, and I filled everything in, and I have my picture. So next, you have to cite the image. This is essential. This is essential. Even if you own it, you want to indicate that, just maybe indicate that that's yours. I'll show you how. So to cite it, first, begin by indicating which bullet point, if you're using bullet points, like what text on your slide relates to the picture, if there is any. I chose my second bullet point. I'm going to pretend that this bullet point said something about giving a presentation in a big hall or something. So I put figure 1 because it's the first image I've added. I put figure 1 after my second key point. If all of them related to that image, I'd probably include a sentence up top and put the figure 1 up there and then list my supporting details. So it's just like an APA research paper. If you are including a table or a graph or something in your discussion, you want to make reference to it in your discussion too. Like, see figure 1 for how much this has changed. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is indicate what text relates to the picture. Okay, then you need to add a text box. That's my point. And you need to add a text box where you're going to type in your image caption. So you go to the Insert tab again, and way down here is the text box option. And once I click text box, my cursor is going to turn into kind of crosshairs, and then I click the mouse, hold it down, and I create a rectangle with it. Okay? You don't have to worry about the size too much because the size is going to fit the size of text you put in there. So this text can be a little smaller than your bullet point text. So if you're using 24 point here, you could use like 18 point maybe for you don't want it to distract for them the discussion, but you don't want to make it like size 8 either that you couldn't read, because the whole point is that you're citing your image. So it's meant to be read, but not to take away from the discussion. You're just kind of covering, you're attributing the image to its source is all. So you use the mouse to create a rectangle. You know, if you again click the text box button, you'll have that option to create one. And again, it'll resize according to your text size, so you don't have to be real specific about how you draw it. And then you can also select it and move it around too. So first type figure 1, and I italicized it because I'm going to use APA format, and you want to use regular font for the rest. And I have a resource that'll tell you that. You don't have to memorize that kind of stuff, but for the sake of a good example, I italicized my figure 1, put a period after it. And next, you want to type the title of the image. If you took and you own the image, you can create a title for it and then write by and your name. You know, and somebody seeing your presentation knows that you're giving the presentation and that's your picture, you took it. So that'll cover it, and that's all you have to do with that. And if you're using Microsoft clip art, I don't want to promote using cartoonish clip art in any means, but Microsoft, if you have a subscription with them, they do have a clip art and somewhat of an image library. If you're using something from Microsoft PowerPoint, I use like these symbols a lot to create little illustrations. That's something you don't have to cite, but you can indicate still the title of the image. You know, if it's illustrating something you're talking about, it's good to have a title and just say by Microsoft. Okay, you don't have to really stress out about it too much. But if you don't own the image, or if it's not part of the PowerPoint, you know, not part of the program itself, you have to cite it if you don't own it. So you need the title, and you need the copyright information. So here's what I did. Oh, you know, Bonnie, I just, as an alternative to using images, I might use a symbol. I give so many different presentations. I've had so many different topics where it was just handy to put, like, you know, I'm giving a workshop on writing, and so maybe I use a paper symbol or something, or something different for an icon to make it more engaging. So here's where I got that picture. Have you heard of Flickr? So I found this particular image on Flickr. It's a photography site I use. And you don't need an account to browse the images. And unlike searching for images on Google, if you're using Flickr, you clearly know if the images are licensed for other people to use or if they're licensed only to be viewed. So when you're going to a photography site, it's pretty clear that if it has a little C symbol with a circle around it, it's copyrighted. You can't use it. If it says all rights reserved, you cannot use it. It's meant to just be viewed. It's not meant to be borrowed. Of course, you can always write to the owner and get permission, and you can say used with permission by the owner. That is an option, actually. But what you can do in Flickr is you can, if you click up in the search window, and you don't even put anything in there, but if you just click it, it'll open up the advanced search options, and you can set the filter to Creative Commons images only. And the Creative Commons license, there's a whole bunch of different Creative Commons licenses, and they allow for some use, some modification, as long as you attribute the image to the creator of it, to the owner of it. Okay, so down here under the image, it's going to tell you what the copyright is, or what the license is for use. And this one says, it says some What does it say? I think it says some, I can't, the text is so small I can't even read it on my, I think it says like some rights reserved or something. Can you read it? I think it says some rights reserved. I'm like, I need stronger glasses all of a sudden. Okay, great. So what you do then is you need to click on it and find out what those rights are to know if and how you can use the image. And if you can use it, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second, but if you check it and you can use it, then you simply download the image. There's a download button, and save it to your computer in a folder where you can then access it when you're in your PowerPoint and you click picture, opens up your Finder, and you can find the image that you downloaded, okay? But you also want to know or keep track of the, remember that page where you found the image, because you're going to need the title of the image in order to cite it. You're also going to need the URL, and in Flickr, instead of using that long, horrible URL up top, if you click this arrow here, it'll give you the short URL that you can use in your citation, and it's nice. It's little. so you're not going to have like a 5-line long URL on your reference list. It's just a nice little short URL. So Flickr makes it easy to share images and cite them properly. Usually there's an author. This one says who the photo's by, the name of the photo, there's a publication date, there's a license. So I clicked the license button to see if I could use it. And this has a Creative Commons CC Attribution 2.0 generic license. And this, so scrolling down the page, it just tells you what you're free to do and under these terms. Like you can share it, you can adapt it, which means you could like crop it and put it in a PowerPoint if there's attribution, if you attribute it to the source. And we know the source is here. Okay. So in the APA style citation, you actually need to link back to this license. So you do need this URL as well. Okay. So there's a little bit to go through if you're using an image off the internet. It's real simple if you use your own images, because you can just say the title by moi. This is mine. And that's all you have to do. But if you do borrow someone else's image, you have to cite it not only under the image. So here's this part of the picture showing that web page with all the citation information I need. And here's my text box back on my PowerPoint. And so I fill it in. I got figure 1, from, and then the title of it, by, and then the author. And then I put the date. I get the date here. And then I have to make the license and a link. So I highlight where it says CC by 2.0, and then I right click, and then I can add a hyperlink. I know this is probably too advanced for some folks, but just saying, if you highlight any text on your screen and then right click it on a PowerPoint, one of the options is going to be to insert a hyperlink. You can also go to your Insert tab and insert a hyperlink. Okay? So that's how you do that. Then, one more step with images. So you've cited it in text. It looks all pretty. It's under there. You got the figure number, which relates to this bullet point. I got the title, I got the author, I got the publication year, and I got the license linked back to that page of the license. Then on the reference page, you have the full citation. I'm not going to go over the formatting of that because we have resources on that. What you just need to know is if you cite something in your discussion, you have to cite it on your reference list. Okay? And that's where you use that short URL for the picture. Makes you not want to use pictures. Actually, I'm trying to encourage the opposite. It's really nice. Pictures are a great way to, create a real engaging visual presentations. It is, however, essential that they're cited, but also that they're relevant. You don't want to use pictures just to decorate. And there's other ways to do it too, like if you have a really, let's say you want the whole slide to be a picture. You can actually format the whole background so it's a picture, so it's not just set in there, but it is the background, and then you can add text boxes over it. So there's many ways to use images. Not only that, but if you select the picture, you can go up and format it. You can crop it, you can resize it, you could add a border around it if you wanted. Things like that. You can change the color, maybe you can change it to black and white, or you can change the lighting. So there's some picture editing tools that you can use as well. Once you get that in there, let's say, oh, this is really small, I want it to be centered, or I want it bigger, or I want it smaller. If you're using bullet points, to put a period after each key point, only if it's a complete sentence. And usually with bullet points, you're using phrases. You do want your writing to be grammatical, so one way you can, if you're writing a scientific presentation, or if it has research in it, one thing you can do is you can like make that first bullet point disappear, like put your cursor in front of it, go to the Home tab, which isn't showing here, and then just click the bullet. There's a bullet point button in the paragraph box on the home ribbon, and make that first bullet point disappear, and then you can like write the beginning of the sentence, and then no punctuation, and then go on and do your list for the rest, and then punctuate the end, like key point 1, comma, key point 2, comma, key point 3, comma, and key point 4, period. Citation, then period. So in most cases, you're just going to have phrases. And what's most important with those is that they're parallel in structure. So each phrase begins with a verb, or the same form of verb, or each one begins with an adjective. So they have a parallel kind of structure. So they make sense, so they go together. So it's cohesive, so it's unified. So that really helps. You want to avoid bullet points that are like more than 2 lines long. Again, you don't want your viewers to be reading. I'd say 4 to 6 bullet points is probably a safe area to be in. So one thing I wanted to show you before I move on to narration, and then we'll wrap it up because it's going a little long, isn't y'all? Thank you. I've been using these shapes throughout, and that's also on the Insert tab. You can insert a shape, and then you can format it by, maybe no fill if you want it hollow, like I've been using hollow shapes for the box, and filling my arrows, and you can select them and move them around, change the shape. So there's also shapes you can use as you go along in your presentation to circle things. And you can also animate them, so they show up when you want them to. There's my smiley. And so as I'm clicking along, I'm deciding when I want a shape to appear. Okay, so adding narration. This is after you finish your whole presentation and you want your presentation to play automatically and have your recorded voice because you're not going to give it live. And this is really quite common, and it's a great way to produce kind of a video-like presentation. So what you do is first open the slideshow tab, and that's another tab across the top. There's slideshow. And this is where you want to have your speaker notes because, so you know what you're going to say throughout your presentation. And then you press record slideshow. And then you're going to get a few options to select that'll ask you, do you want the slide to play as long as you're talking? In most cases, you want your voice to sync with the slide. And you can also choose to have any pointers or highlighting also show as you're going along. So you click and then you say yes, yes, and then start recording. And then your slideshow, all of a sudden you're going to see it in view mode. You're like, oh no, where are all my tools? It's just going to open this little tiny box. There's going to be just a little recording box that's going to show up. That'll help. That is what you'll use then to advance the slides, because when it's in recording mode, it's going to record the slide only, so it's going to get full screen probably. Mine does anyway. And then you just use the recording box to advance the slides here, or pause, or go back. And then to end the show, when you're on the very last slide, you hover your mouse over it, just right-click your mouse. The drop-down menu will pop up that looks just like this. It's the bottom half of it anyway, and click End Show. And then to play your recording, you just go to the slideshow tab again, and you press play from beginning or from the current slide. And then to save it, now if you're just going to save it on your computer to watch, you can just save it as a PowerPoint like usual. But if you're saving it to submit to your professor, or you want other people, you want to upload it to your website or something, you want to save it as an MPG4, which is like a video file. And then you're producing your slideshow as a video to share online or to share with your instructors. And it'll have your audio, it'll play automatically. The good thing about recording is that it records slide by slide. So if you mess up, you can just redo that slide. You don't have to redo the whole thing. You can record one slide at a time and just kind of take a breather and figure out what you're going to say, then record it. Stop, figure out what you're going to say, then record it. So, or you can just kind of record consistently through. And if you do that, though, you want to make sure that you don't talk while you're pressing that advance button. You want to talk, stop, then forward to the next slide. And don't start talking until it's loaded. That slide's loaded, right? Because the recordings are attached to each slide separately. I mean, when you produce it, it's just one bulk thing, but when you're making it, it's each slide is recorded separately, right? I want to thank you all for coming. I'm going to end the recording and then stay a little bit, 5 minutes for more questions, all right? Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.